Good afternoon. A very warm welcome to you on Parentune Live. I hope you and your family are doing well. My name is Jharna Kukreja and I am your host for today. Today we're joined by Parentune expert Kiran Tevtiya to answer all your questions on what to do when your child does not listen to you. Kiran, to start off with, what are some of the primary reasons that young children just don't respond to their parents?
Jharna, of course, that's a good thing to start with. That we got to first understand before we think that what as a parent we should be doing, right, to handle when they don't listen. We also have to first empathize that what could be the reason they are not listening. Okay. Now, considering the age group that we are looking for here, 3 years all the way to 11. Now, if we are saying that a 3-year-old child, we say, okay, it's your time to wrap up your toys, all right, and the child is finding the transition difficult. It doesn't want to leave the toys, it doesn't want to leave playing, even though it may be a lunchtime or it may be some other time to go out, right? So one of the reasons could be that the child is young and is finding the transition difficult, right? The second thing is that the child is genuinely so engrossed in something. Okay, the child didn't really hear you. You did not catch the attention, right, of the child. So we spoke over and we left and assumed that the child would do it. And when you come back and say, okay, is it done? The child may actually say, I don't know, I have to do that, right? The third reason could be that for some reason, right, the child is carrying the baggage of old disconnect which happened just a while back. Maybe the child had a fight with the sibling, or the child just came back from the school and for some reason didn't have a great day, but it has not verbalized it to you so far, right? So, or just a while back the child cooperated without his or her own wishes. So it could be that the child may not be as cooperative. So the child is carrying, especially it happens with the older children, right? 8 years, 9 years, 10 years onward, the child is just still taking care of the old heel, so to speak, right? So that can be one of the reasons why the child is not listening. And the fourth could be that genuinely what you're expecting the child to do may not be age appropriate or may not actually be touching upon the self-interest of the child. It could be something like, okay, you wear this particular t-shirt, right? Or you wear this particular, you eat this particular vegetable. So genuinely the child doesn't want to do that. So the child is feeling and, I didn't hear it. So there could be many reasons child not wanting to do it. So he's kind of extending it. That's one of the extending strategies of the child. Child genuinely did not hear the instruction that you're giving to the child. The child is not ready to take the responsibility singularly on his own. So it's just giving up. I can't do it. There could be another reason, which is very interesting, Jharna. Especially it happens in siblings. Okay. When we say that, all right, let's see who will finish the milk first. Right. So based on what has happened in the past, the child might have just come out of it, all right, I don't think I can do it. So if we are, putting in some competitiveness kind of thing, these motivation also doesn't work. So the motivation that you're trying to give to the child to make the child listen probably is not working. So these could be, some of the reasons why the child may not be listening to you.
Right, Kiran. If you've just joined us on this Parentune Live, we are with child psychologist Kiran Tevtiya, who is answering all your questions on what to do if your child is not listening to you. Kiran is a Mumbai-based child psychologist who specializes in child behavior and development. She's well known for supporting parents in addressing emotional and behavioral challenges in their children. You can post all your queries to Kiran on the Parentune app in either English or in Hindi, and we will have them answered in just a short while. Kiran, you mentioned all the multitude of reasons that could be responsible for a child not responding to their parents or apparently not listening to their parents. And you also mentioned that at times, as a parent, what we might be expecting from our child is not practical, is not age appropriate. So Could you elaborate a little bit about that, on what are the correct expectations we as a parent should have from our child, and how are we as parents making a mistake of not having realistic expectations?
Right. Yeah. So, though, it doesn't fall in the age group of 3 to 11, but recently, because that is what happens when the child grows up with that kind of setup. Recently I met a 15, 16-year-old child, and the child said that I got to do it because mujhe mere family ka maan rakhna hai. Right. These are very, for a young children to be shouldering doing things to make the parent feel happy is a very, very unrealistic kind of expectation at this age. Okay. So if whatever we are expecting as a parent is not touching upon the genuine self-interest of the child, whether safety issue, right, whether hygiene issue, whether something which directly touches upon the development of the child, if it is not around these areas, and if it is something which makes us feel good, or puts a feather on our shoulders, if you are pushing the child to do that, probably you may notice that in these two scenarios, the later may actually force a child to feel that I did not listen, or may not actually end up doing those things. So if you have to give an example, for example, a 3-year-old child, recently when I met a family, to expect that a 3-year-old child after playing is kind of on his or her own, wrap up all the toys, put it nicely, be so organized in their thought, is beyond, is not a fair expectation. But what is fair is where we collaboratively work with the child. There is another thing, Jharna, here, that even though the child may be age appropriate ready, but sometimes, maybe the child is looking for a connect with the parent. Okay. And may actually say, why don't you help me with this? So if we, instead of saying that the child is lazy, doesn't want to do it, we actually use that as a connect moment and sit down for a minute or two and further indulge in what the child is looking for, the intentions behind, you will notice that the cooperation will increase. And similarly, it goes for 8 or 9 years, where we say that your friend look what your sister got, these many marks, you have got these many marks, why don't you buck up? So these kind of competitive things also, I would always suggest that go with where your child stands. Don't go with that, okay, another 5-year-old child is doing this, why my child is not doing it, right? So as long as we are doing that, what my child was doing yesterday and what is he or she doing it today, it's purely age appropriate. And as long as it touches upon the self-interest of the child, as long as where there are some natural consequences for it if the child doesn't do it. So these are a good thing to decide whether it is age appropriate or it is not age appropriate, Jharna.
Right, Kiran. I think that's something that we as as parents should reflect upon, because even as adults, we have trouble responding to and following instructions which are not relevant to us. So I feel that that's something that we should give a little leeway with our kids with as well. We'll start taking in questions now from parents. Our first question is from Shikha Batra. Shikha says, my nephew is 10 years old and he doesn't listen to his mother at all. What all changes can be brought about by her in her method of giving directions so that he begins to listen to her?
Right. Now, Shikha, 10-year-old, the child is already building his or her own very high level of differentiation from the parents, right? The child is no longer solely driven by doing things to please the parent or please the mother, okay? That's a good thing. Right? Developmentally, that's a very nice thing where the child is critically thinking that should I or should I not do it? Not because my parent wants me to do it, right? So we got to go behind that. What are the areas where conflict is coming? Is the child overtired, so to speak? Is the child, first thing is having proper sleep, proper eat, proper connect, social connect? Right? Just imagine if the child has been on devices for 2 to 3 hours and then suddenly we notice that why is the child kind of feeling restless, is not cooperative. So we got to understand that the child needs sleep, eat, social connect, Okay, even from the parent, some kind of, I gather it's a boy, right? Jharna, it's a boy?
That's right. Yes,
Right.
that's right.
So sometimes what happens is as boys are growing, even for the girls also, we sometimes lose out on the physical touch with children. So multiple times, twice or thrice, if you're kind of having some hug and all, those are positive connects with the child, de-stressing it. So even the child's chances of listening increases. Here we don't have a specific example where the child is not listening. However, these are good things where the child is listening. Another thing is, if we let the child face the natural consequences of not listening, right? So go through the pain of not listening. For instance, if you say that, you know what, please wrap it up before you go out to play. All right. Now, as a parent, if you just want and then you leave it, 10-year-old, you have to give the time to the child to kind of internalize, do his own critical thinking. What are the pros and cons of doing it? Should I build his own motivation? Right. So then when you will notice it's like 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock for the child to go and he's coming, okay, mama, I'm going. So you say, oh, wait, could you please give me the status of wrapping up of the things? So chances are very high that either the child is going to do it, right? That's a different story. The child may just pick up those things and dump it. Now that's another thing which you may have to, may not want to monitor so much at that point of time, because later on when the child is looking for something in those toys, he's going to pay natural consequences for it. So for a 10-year-old, Jana, Shikha, my suggestion is have a balance between what is natural consequences. Let the child face the pain. When the child says, mama, I'm not able to find my scale, my ruler, right? So you say, all right, so have you checked in the dump that you dumped yesterday? And you let the child go through the pain and don't be in a hurry to help the child. So keep it slow and keep the positive connect also with the child. Very important. Not just react in those scenarios when he is not listening. Overall, keep a positive connect.
Right, Kiran. So, like you mentioned that for an age group of around 10, where a child has, developed an identity aside from his parents, that is, you've mentioned how you as a parent should let your child face natural consequences of their actions. So, as a parent, when you're directing a child in this age group of, say, 7 to 11, what are some reasonable expectations that you as a parent should have from your child? Or, what are some reasonable ways of instructing your child?
All right. So, for example, suppose there's a jigsaw puzzle. Examples are good because that help us to kind of take that slice out of it and try to put it in other spheres of the connect that we are trying to have with the child. So suppose it's a jigsaw puzzle which the child painstakingly, and it recently happened actually with a 9-year-old child, that's why I'm just saying. So 500 pieces of jigsaw puzzle the child made. It took few days and now it's all there as a memory that wow, I did it. Now the parent really wants it to be wrapped up, right? So one way is you just say, all right, now, you let it build up, and finally when you get so irritated, you say, you know what, now this has been lying for the last 10 days. I can't see it anymore. We can't broom the house, your room is looking really untidy. You better pack it up in the next 5 minutes, right? That's one way to kind of giving instruction. The other way is, which is more collaborative in nature. I'm talking about a 9-year-old child. So it pretty much fits into 7 to 11. So more collaborative is, you know what, dear, you give information. 10 years, 7 to 11 years is a very good age where when you give information, you enable the child to make better decisions, right? Not necessarily the child is going to make better decisions, you enable, right? It's a process. Making the right decision is also a process. They're still growing, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. It's a road towards being an adult, a responsible adult. So if you say, you tell the problem to the child that this is affecting the cleanness of the house. So it definitely cannot stay here. So maybe the child may, so what do you think about it? How should we solve this problem? So maybe the child can actually say, you know what I'm going to do? I'll pick it up and I'll probably put it on, say, platform, or I will empty one rack of mine in the wardrobe and I'm going to shift it there. Give chance to the child to kind of give you some options to you. Right? Sometimes as a parent, we say that I have the right to say the problem and I also have the right to decide how to solve the problem. Of course, you can always guide the child that this is what I think you should be doing, but ask the child also his or her own options. A lot of times they have amazing ideas, which even as an adult, we could not have thought of. And once you get that thing, whatever you are okay with, whatever child is okay with, you say, all right, so this, I'm okay with this. So when would it be done? Timelines are very important, right? So if the child says, you know what, Sunday is what I will get time, great. What time on Sunday? So what you're doing is you are guiding the child more and more into thinking an actionable plan. You're not just leaving on your own vent that, oh my God, this is so dirty, you better, you are this, you are that, you are lazy, right? You are guiding the child into an actionable plan. Right? Even in corporate, we say, spend 60 to 70% of time in planning, then the 30 to 40% of execution will be easy. Right? So when the child commits and is visualizing in the mind in your guided performance, when you are calm and when you show trust, then the chances are high. Doesn't mean the child will still do it, but I'm just saying. So you plan, right? You guide the child into how the child thinks the child can achieve it, and in the end, you also put some consequence. 7 to 11-year amazing thing where you can actually guide the child into. So tell me one thing. What if? Do you want me to remind you, or you're going to remember it? That's one thing, right? Then you say, tell me what, if it is not done for some reason, the calmer you are, Shikha, Jharna, at that time, the better it is. And if you can actually say with a glint in your eyes and with a little humor, what if suddenly you just say, Mama, I don't want to do it. So what should be the consequences for it? Right? So when you have thought about it, and children are very good at consequences. They say, okay, Mama, I will not eat food. So work with your child in that sense. Chances are very high that your child will be cooperative. Even if the child doesn't want to do it on Sunday, children, right? Self-control, self-regulation, they are learning it. Even for adults, when we tell our friends, from tomorrow onwards, I'm going to be regular in my walks every day. And one morning we just say, oh, you know what? I think I'll not do it today, right? So give some time to your child also to kind of build upon their commitment. But chances are high, if your child has gone through it, that on Sunday, when you tell the child, you know what, this has to be wrapped up. Remember, so before 10 o'clock, I want to see it wrapped up, and leave it. Don't keep reminding to the child, right? Try it out, and you have this platform to reply back. How did it work for you?
Right. We also have another question from a parent who has children in the same age category. The question comes from Sejal Khanna. Sejal says, my daughters are 7 and 10 years old respectively, and they just ignore my requests to help me out with household chores. And they pretend as if they haven't heard me or didn't listen to me. On repeatedly being called to help, they tell each other to go, but no one would come to my assistance. And finally, I end up having to do the chore myself. Please give me some tips on how I can make them help me with age-appropriate household chores.
Right, Jana. Sorry, what's the name of the parent?
Sejal Khanna.
Sejal. All right, Sejal. This is common in siblings. Yeah. Right? And that's a beauty of siblings, right? First thing, Sejal, definitely is if you can treat them separately. Okay, you give separate instructions to your 7-year-old child, you give separate instructions to your 10-year-old child. Separate expectation. So even if your 7-year-old child says, but you know what, she is not doing it. So you say, okay, this is my expectation from you. All right. For example, I mean, let's be specific. For example, if you say that during lockdown, it actually happened in most of the households that each child is going to clean their own utensils. Okay. So if you tell to your 7-year-old that, you know what, after food, I expect you to pick up your plates and put it and clean it nicely. And please, another thing is, don't ask your kids, out of my own personal experience, right? I have 3 kids. So please do not tell the child to mix it with your things, because their sense of cleaning could be a little different from yours. However, you don't give up on the child, right? You always keep giving the opportunities to the child to do their household chores with their own definition of perfection, right? And which has to keep getting better each day. So you tell the child you got to do that, and whenever you're telling the child, you also leave the the option open, the child may still just get up, go and start doing something of their own. All right. And if it happens like that, so you also would have to, natural consequences. Either you have the choice. There are multiple choices, Sejal. It all depends on your personality and your ability to, a lot of times, as a parent, we are not so comfortable seeing things unorganized, right? We want it to be cleared right away. For whatever reason, maybe somebody will come at home, or it doesn't feel so pleasing to see that plate on the table. So if you're one of those parents, you can always kind of say that, you know what, dear, I'm picking it up for you. So you owe me a help here because I helped you with this. This was your job, right? So when you have helped the child with that thing, then you got to maybe, whenever you're having something else, you can tell the child that you owe me one. You can remind the child. That can be one of the strategies. The other one, which I generally suggest, and which generally works better because that affects the self-interest of the child. And whenever some consequences is affecting the child, which is natural, for example, what happens if the child is not picking up the plate? I'm just taking an example. There could be many such things. So what happens is that the child's plate is still on the table. That means the child loses the right to take a new plate for the next meal. This is natural. If I don't clean my whatever, right, I can't use them, right? Or I got to use the same thing. Of course, it touches upon the hygiene, and children are very particular. Oh, no, I can't eat in this. So you're going to wait. You just tell your child, you know what, I notice your plate is still there on the table, and that's not fair. Right. So probably you got to eat in the same plate in your next meal. I leave it up to you. And then you leave. Then next time when the meal comes, if you really can do that, you can actually tell your child that, okay, come on in, and you don't get the plate of your child. I'm just giving one example. And the child comes and, then says, okay, I will clean it, whatever. Chances are high. So let figure it out, what works for you, what works for the child, what works with your temperament. Stick to the which are closest to the natural consequence, right? The closer it is to the way real life will give us consequences, but we give it in small packets and we support the child. Never ever be sarcastic. It doesn't help. When the child comes on the table, she already sees her dirty plate. She's not comfortable. She's in pain. And we say, we are sarcastic, right? We say, oh, you deserved it, or we kind of get into blame game. Be supportive to the child because she's already in pain. That, yeah, dear, your plate is here. You didn't clean it. If you need any help, tell me, right? And then you say, okay, fine, you take it there. Let's do it together. Based on the age, 7 years old, probably you may have to help her with that. And whenever you propose do it together, Cesar, I always say, help means the child does it and you are helping. A lot of times we get confused in help in the sense child is comfortably sitting and you are going and doing the help. No, help is, that's what you have to clarify to the child. Help means, okay, you take the table, you take the plate, and let me see where all I'm going to be with you. And welcome such helping moments because that always helps to build connect with the child, right? And that's going to make the child more cooperative in the next chore you're going to give to the child, right? Yeah. I hope it helps you.
Right. Kiran, you spoke about allowing children to face natural consequences of their actions at this stage when given instructions. So as a parent, what happens at times is when you pass on an instruction or a direction to your child, at first you try to be reasonable and you try to, communicate well with your child. You try to, establish that connect and communicate to them. But when, as a parent, you don't get a response, what tends to happen is, tempers flare at that point of time. So any advice for parents like me, perhaps, who face this problem of not being able to control their temper or their communication, the consistency of their communication when they don't get a response?
Very true. Very true. Just imagine, right? You have a 10-year-old child and you go and tell your child that, all right, and the child is on phone or probably, is just whiling away, is playing games or whatever. So you go and tell the child that, okay, you know what, you have to make your bed. Your bed hasn't been made. Or, you know what, you have to finish your homework. And just imagine what happens if the child looks at you and says, like I care.
Yeah.
Yeah, they see it
Common
everywhere.
scenario.
Right, you see the serials that they are watching, you see the even Enid Blyton books, Mallory Towers, you see Harry Potter, right? So they're going to give you exactly the line that you're going to say, okay. Right, so I would always suggest keep an eye on your own triggers,
Okay.
right? Of course, whatever the child learns from all the after a point, after the child is like say 4 or 5 years, you are not we are not going to be the only influence of the child, right? The child is going to get influenced, or you can't control, and you shouldn't control, right? It takes I'll give you a small example. There was a 5.5 years of child, and she was being brought up in a very sophisticated kind of family, lecturer family, and she would always talk in English and up and all, no tu and all. Some cultures give negative connotation to tu. Now just imagine her mom is getting ready, right, in front of the mirror, and she goes to the school in a van, right?
Okay.
Now just imagine your reaction when she looks at you, at the mother, and says, "Mast lag rahi hai tu." The parent shared it with me, right? Just imagine the shock of the parent, like, "Mast lag rahi hai tu," and the child picks up exactly the same tone, right? You say, "Where is my child learning it from?" So you can't control that. So, but yes, what you got to, but you have to truly believe as a parent, you have the maximum amount of influence on your child.
Okay.
You mean a lot to your child for many years to come. Okay, you have to truly believe. So instead of trying to control whom all the child is interacting with, unless it's a safety issue, so you're getting bullied, right? And you sensitize the child if somebody in the group is doing a lot of name calling and all, right? That's a different story. Otherwise, you can't control that. Which mousey the child is going with, who, van, okay, let me stop the van, let me start dropping myself. Don't get into that. However, you can definitely guide the child. So first you look at yourself. Am I getting triggered? Right? Am I getting flooded? So if I'm giving instruction to my child, and the moment the child roll the eyes, you can actually, if you think you're getting, reactive about it, it's a practice. It's not so easy. Okay, because, and you know why, Jharna, it's not so easy? Because when we grew up, okay, this behavior of ours was not acceptable as well. And there's a very negative, very high negative connotation to it, that, oh my God, you are disrespecting me, right? There was a very high price to pay to that. So we didn't grow up accepting it. So of course, our childhood triggers are going to come up. So best thing is, you can actually verbalize it when you're getting emotionally flooded. You say, all right, you know what? I'm not liking the way you are reacting right now. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to come back to you, but I expect that you are done with it. So I'm going to come back to you in 10 minutes, 15 minutes, half an hour or something, right? I'm going to take a break. A lot of times, Jharna, it is not important that it has to be done right then and there. When you feel that I'm getting into that mode of I have to, why or not you're not doing it right now, it's time for you to step back. No harm will be done if you step back, take a break, right? Don't drop your expectations. As a parent, if you think it's truly right for the child to do, don't drop it. But maybe this is not the right time for you to connect because you're not in a right frame of mind at this point of time. And the beauty of this, Jharna, is you become an amazing model for your own child. When your child is going and connecting with those same peers where the child learned these mannerisms from, and the child sees the same rolling of eyes and all, the child knows how to handle it as well. You are modeling it. So take a break or hand it over to some other adult in the household that, you know what, I think I'm getting triggered, I'm getting flooded, I need a break. So if your husband's name is Abhijit or whatever, Abhijit, can you please take care of it? I'm off it. Right? Take a break. Or do that, Ramdev Baba's that deep breathing. Sometimes as you practice, your triggers will become less, and on the moment itself, you can take a deep breath 5 times and again connect with your child. You will notice as you practice, you would actually be able to come out of it very fast, but it's a practice.
Kiran, our next question comes in from Rinku, who is a parent to a 5-year-old child. She says, "Ma'am, मेरा बेटा 5 साल और 4 महीने का है. वो पहले बात नहीं सुनता था, अब थोड़ा थोड़ा सुनता है। आई कांटेक्ट मूड होता है तो करता है, स्ट्रेंजर से नहीं करता। एक क्वेश्चन बार बार पूछेगा और कंटिन्यू बोलते ही जाता है। सो डू यू हैव एनी एडवाइस फॉर रिंकू?
Okay, so I see three things here, Jharna. One thing is that अच्छा, अब थोड़ा थोड़ा सुनने लगा है. Okay, so that's working for you, whatever strategy that you're doing, Rinku. That's nice. Second thing which you're saying is eye contact थोड़ा करता है और थोड़ा करता है with you first. That's nice. So in any case, you see that he is building his communication skill. You're already saying that once he starts speaking and asking questions, वो बोलता ही जा रहा है. आप बोलता ही जा रहा है. So अगर वो बोलता ही जा रहा है, that means उसका conversation skills develop हो रहा है. Very nice. So वो eye contact कर रहा हो चाहे नहीं कर रहा हो, then it does not matter. आप बच्चे को 5 साल के बच्चे को ऐसा नहीं बोल सकते कि तुम मेरी आंखों में आंखें डाल के बोलोगे तो ही मैं तुम्हारा काम करूंगी, राइट? अगर आपको अटेंशन चाहिए बच्चे का तो आप पास में जा सकते हैं, हाथ रख सकते हैं बच्चे के ऊपर, जो भी वो काम कर रहा हो उसका नाम ले सकते हैं, राइट रिंकू? एंड आप उसको नाम लेके थोड़ा इंतजार कीजिए कि बच्चा थोड़ा तो या तो कुछ बॉडी में चेंज आए या थोड़ा सा लगे कि हाँ भी वो आपका रजिस्टर किया उसने, कि आपका प्रेजेंस रजिस्टर किया, फिर इंस्ट्रक्शन दीजिए, राइट? अलग अलग बच्चों का रिंकू कई बार आई कांटेक्ट थोड़ा टाइम लगता है डेवलप होने में, स्पेशली विद स्ट्रेंजर्स. 5 साल का है, थोड़ा टाइम दीजिए, उससे उसका कोई नुकसान नहीं हो रहा है. कई बच्चों को थोड़ा ओवरवेलमिंग लगता है, बड़ों को भी लगता है कई बार. आप जब आई कांटेक्ट करके बात करते हो कई बार वो भूल जाते हैं कि क्या बात कर रहे थे, बिकॉज समटाइम्स आईज हैव दैट अट्रैक्शन. तो कई बार मीटिंग में भी बोला जाता है कि आप आंखों की बजाय फिर नाक के ऊपर देखिए, right? So give it some time. If it see concern ये होता अगर 5 साल तक भी बच्चा अगर आई कांटेक्ट नहीं कर रहा है और उसका कम्युनिकेशन स्किल बिल्ड नहीं हो रहा है, राइट? बट उसका कम्युनिकेशन स्किल बिल्ड हो रहा है तो फिर आई कांटेक्ट का इतना चैलेंज नहीं है विद अ स्ट्रेंजर, right? So that is one. Then the last thing which you said was एक सवाल पूछता है and पूछते ही जाता है. एक्चुअली ये चीज ना बड़े बच्चों में भी होती है, जैसे 10-12 साल के बच्चों में. एक चीज आप ध्यान दीजिए रिंकू की ना, शायद बच्चा आपसे कनेक्ट करने का कोशिश कर रहा है. देखिए कि अगर आप थोड़ा जैसे 5 साल का बच्चा है, राइट? तो अगर आप दिन में कुछ टाइम, जैसे सुबह बच्चा उठा, राइट, तो आपने 5-10 मिनट थोड़ा उसके साथ मस्ती कर लिया, थोड़ा फिजिकल टच वगैरह. बच्चों को स्किन टू स्किन टच चाहिए होता है, चाहे कोई भी उम्र हो, चाहे 12 साल हो 15 साल हो, राइट? स्किन टू स्किन टच अच्छी चीज है. तो सुबह आपने 10 मिनट बच्चे को थोड़ा सा हग वगैरह किया, थोड़ी बात की, बेटा नींद कैसी आई, चलो अभी ब्रश करते हैं साथ में थोड़ा सा. फिर 2-3 घंटे बाद आप जब भी बच्चे को क्रॉस करते हैं, एक बार बच्चे के कंधे पे हाथ रखते हुए कुछ बोल दिया, तो आप बेसिकली कनेक्ट करते जा रहे हैं बच्चे के साथ. सो कई बार बच्चा कनेक्ट करने की कोशिश करता है तो वो ये ऐसी स्ट्रेटेजी अपना सकता है. दूसरा, अगर आपको ट्रूली पता है कि अभी थोड़ी देर पहले आपने बच्चे को उस सवाल का जवाब दिया है, तो आप एक्चुअली थोड़ा रुक के, जब बच्चा सवाल पूछता है ना, तो अगर आपके पास समय है तो रुक के हाथ रख के बच्चे के चेहरे की तरफ देख के, चाहे वो आपकी तरफ नहीं देख रहा हो, चेहरे की तरफ देख के आप उससे बात कर सकते हैं कि अच्छा आपको क्या पता है इसके बारे में, अपना जवाब देने से पहले, राइट? इंस्टेड ऑफ सेइंग मैं तो 10 बार तो मैं जवाब दे चुकी हूँ, क्या पता बच्चा आपका कनेक्शन देख रहा हो, राइट? सो आप क्या सोचते हो इसके बारे में? बच्चे को और बोलने दीजिए, जितना बच्चा बोलेगा आपसे कनेक्टेड रहेगा, राइट? रात को सोते टाइम पे भी थोड़ा 10-15 मिनट कीजिए. एंड आउटडोर बच्चे के लिए, 5 साल के बच्चे के लिए बहुत जरूरी है, तो 1 घंटा कम से कम बच्चे को बाहर जाना चाहिए. सो जस्ट सी कि ओवरऑल बच्चा कनेक्टेड है आपके साथ. एक अडल्ट भी काफी है. अगर आप बोले कि मैं तो कनेक्टेड हूं लेकिन फादर कनेक्टेड नहीं है, एक अडल्ट भी काफी है बच्चे के लिए, कनेक्ट के लिए, राइट? अगर आपके पास समय नहीं है, बच्चा आपको पूछ रहा है कोई चीज, आपके पास समय नहीं है, तो समय लीजिए, इग्नोर मत कीजिए, राइट? कि मैंने अभी थोड़ी देर पहले बोला, मैं अब सुनती ही नहीं हूं उसकी बात, राइट? आप बोलिए अच्छा बेटा मैं अभी ये काम कर रही हूँ, आपका सवाल जरूरी है, मुझे 15 मिनट दीजिए, मैं आपके पास आऊंगी. आप अपना काम खत्म कीजिए शांति से, फिर बच्चे के पास जाइए, हाँ बेटा आप क्या बात कर रहे थे, वो भूल भी जाए तो हाँ बेटा आप ये चीज पूछ रहे थे, क्या सवाल है आपका इसके बारे में। जब समय दे तो पूरा समय दीजिए, 2 मिनट लगता है, 5 मिनट लगता है, समय लीजिए कि बेटा मैं आधे घंटे में आपके पास आऊंगी, लेकिन जब समय दे तो फोन बज रहा हो, कुछ भी हो रहा हो, पूरा समय दीजिए, चाहे 5 मिनट दीजिए, उस समय कोई भी डिस्टर्बेंसेस हो। सी रिंकू, जैसे आप बड़े होंगे, सी टू वे है ना, आप भी तो चाहोगे कि बच्चा आपको डेडिकेटेडली टाइम दे जब आपके साथ बैठे, या आप चाहेंगे कि वो बच्चा हाँ मम्मी, राइट। सो जब आप बच्चे के साथ बैठते हो, जब भी समय हो, तो डेडिकेटेड टाइम देना जरूरी है। So I hope that will help you, Rinku.
I think it's like you said, it's difficult to expect your children to not be distracted if you are distracted yourself as a parent. So I think, yeah, modeling the behavior you expect comes into play over there. Our next question is also from the parent of a 5-year-old child. Bijal Shah writes in saying that my son is 5 years old and we speak continuously the full day. He repeats questions so many times till his demand has not been completely met and he does not listen to me. So what can I do in such a scenario?
Right. So, Bijal, there are a few things which are here. One thing is, okay, very nice. We are talking continuously throughout the day. Just take care of one thing, Bijal, here. I hope it's not too much of an effort for you. Sometimes what happens as a parent of a preschooler, 5 years, right? We think that जब भी बच्चा हाथों पर करेगा, हमें भाग के जाना है उसके पास, राइट। कई बच्चे ऐसे होते हैं जैसे कि आप कुछ काम कर रहे हो और वो उठा बिस्तर पे, वो बिस्तर से उतरने को तैयार नहीं है, वो वहीं से पापा मम्मी राइट चिल्ला रहा है। आप सोचो मैं अपना काम छोड़ के ना, बच्चे को मेरी जरूरत है, मैं फटाक से भाग के जाता हूँ या भाग के जाती हूँ। माय रिक्वेस्ट इज प्लीज डोंट गेट इनटू दिस मोड. Child need to respect your time as well, and the earlier the child respects, the better it is overall for the family, right? You got to be in the driving seat, so but you always have to show to the child कि you are connected. So for example, छोटा सा एग्जाम्पल, राइट, बच्चा सुबह उठा, उसने जोर से आवाज लगाई, कुछ बच्चों को स्क्रीमिंग की आदत होती है, बच्चा सेफ है, 5 साल का है, राइट, ओके, आप आराम से जहां पर भी आप बच्चे का नाम लेते हो, यस बेटा मैं इधर ड्राइंग रूम में हूँ, गुड मॉर्निंग, और शांत रह सकते हैं। फिर बच्चा वो लगाएगा मामा, थोड़ा लंबा कीजिए, क्योंकि अभी नया नया आप शुरू करेंगे तो थोड़ा लंबा। आई एम नॉट सेइंग आपका बच्चा ये कर रहा होगा, बट आई एम जस्ट गिविंग एग्जांपल। आवाज यूज कीजिए, भाग के जल्दी जल्दी जाने का वो नहीं है। अगर आप कोई काम कर रहे हैं, किसी से बात कर रहे हैं, फोन पे बात कर रहे हैं, या कोई घर पे आया है और बच्चा आपका शर्ट खींच रहा है, राइट, कंटी आपके फेस के, कई बच्चे ऐसे भी करते हैं, फेस को ऐसे पकड़ के ऐसे खींचने की कोशिश करते हैं, ओके, जल्दी मत कीजिए, आपको पता है आपका बच्चा आपका अटेंशन चाहता है, राइट। सो अगर आपने थोड़ा सा अपना हाथ रख दिया बच्चे पे, तो आप बात करते जा रहे हैं। हाय झरना, एम आई ऑडिबल?
Yes, Kiran, you're audible. We can hear you.
So आप बात करते जा रहे हैं, जिनसे भी आप कर रहे हैं, अपना काम करते जा रहे हैं, लेकिन आपने हाथ रखा है बच्चे के ऊपर। That itself shows, थोड़ा सा हाथ हिला भी सकता है, स्किन टू स्किन टच, that itself gives a satisfaction to the child कि मेरा पेरेंट अभी कनेक्टेड है, ठीक है, हाँ बेटा मैं आपकी बात सुनने वाली हूँ, जस्ट अ मोमेंट मैं इनसे बात कर रही हूँ, राइट। सो वो भी कनेक्टेड है, बच्चा कनेक्टेड है, आपने हाथ रखा हुआ, लेकिन आप बच्चा ये समझ रहा है कि यस मेरे पेरेंट को, मेरे मम्मी या पापा का ये काम इंपॉर्टेंट है। उसके बाद ठहराव आता है बच्चे के अंदर, राइट, वेटिंग का थ्रेशोल्ड बढ़ता है बच्चे का, बहुत अच्छी बात है। फ्रस्ट्रेशन टॉलरेंस, मुझे अब भी चाहिए, राइट, दैट इंक्रीजेस। ये सारे जो सॉफ्ट स्किल्स है, ये सारे जो जो पर्सनालिटी के जो कैरेक्टर्स है, वो बच्चे को मदद करेंगे उसके हर एरिया में, राइट। रियल वर्ल्ड में तो ऐसा नहीं होगा कि बच्चे को अभी कुछ चाहिए तो उसको हमेशा मिलेगा, इट्स अ रॉन्ग मॉडलिंग, राइट। सो आप वो जो चीज है थोड़ा देखिए, अगर आपको अफेक्ट नहीं कर रहा देन देयर इज नो प्रॉब्लम, बट अगर आप फियर में हैं, कुछ पेरेंट्स होते हैं 5 साल के, बीजल जो मैं देखती हूँ, बाथरूम में जाने पे भी बोलते हैं, मेरा बच्चा तो बिल्कुल कंटिन्यूअसली उसमें भी मुझे मना करता है कि नहीं आप मेरी आंखों से ओझल मत हो। तो जस्ट सी, आई एम जस्ट सेइंग। नाउ सेकंड थिंग इज अबाउट रिपीटेशन। छोटे बच्चे 5 साल के बच्चे एक्चुअली छोटे बच्चे रिपीटेशन से सीखते हैं। सी जब हम कोई नई चीज पढ़ते हैं हम कैसे याद करते हैं, हमारी मेमोरी में कैसे स्टोर होता है वो, आप नोट करेंगे कि कोई ऐसी चीज जो एकदम नई हो, होम्योपैथी फॉर एग्जांपल, कई हम लोगों के लिए होम्योपैथी बिल्कुल नया है, कुछ नहीं पता होता उसका लॉजिक्स, राइट, उसको समझना और एज कंपेयर टू कोई चीज आपको पहले ही पता हो, जैसे आपको पता हो कि केक कैसे बनता है, अभी उसका कोई नया इंफॉर्मेशन आया हो, तो आप क्या करते हो, जो आपका एग्जिस्टिंग नॉलेज है उसको रिट्रीव करते हो अपने ब्रेन में, राइट, उसको रिकॉल करते हो, उसके साथ एक नया इंफॉर्मेशन अटैच करते हो और उसको वापस, सी दैट इज हाउ टेक्निकली इट वर्क्स, उसको वापस अपनी लॉन्ग टर्म मेमोरी में डाल देते हो, राइट। नाउ एक बच्चे के लिए ज्यादातर चीजें नई हैं, उसके पास रिकॉल के लिए कुछ नहीं है, तो जब वो नई इंफॉर्मेशन को डालने की कोशिश कर रहा है तो उसको कॉन्क्रीटाइज करने के लिए, ताकि वो फ्लूइड नहीं रहे नॉलेज, कई बार बच्चा बार बार क्वेश्चन पूछता है, राइट, सो इट इज अ गुड आइडिया कि आप थोड़ा, इनफैक्ट केवल क्वेश्चन ही नहीं, आप कभी कहानी अगर पढ़ते हो बच्चे के साथ, बोलते हो कि चलो बेटा अपनी बुक लेके आओ, आज कहानी पढ़ते हैं, कौन सी स्टोरी पढ़ेंगे, बच्चा बार बार सेम स्टोरी लेके आता है, आप बोलोगे तो 4 बार पढ़ लिया है, क्या बार बार ये स्टोरी पढ़नी है, बट यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड, जब उस स्टोरी में क्लाइमेक्स आता है बीच बीच में और धम करके ये चीज गिरी, अगर आप सेम टोन से बोलेंगे तो बच्चा उसी समय एकदम से उसी उसमें उठेगा, दे लाइक रिपीटेशन, दे लाइक कंसिस्टेंसी, दे लाइक टू प्रिडिक्ट, वाओ अभी ये होने वाला है, प्ले गो विथ योर चाइल्ड, नया क्वेश्चन पूछता है तो भी आप जवाब देते, सेम क्वेश्चन पूछ रहा है तो भी आप जवाब दोगे स्माइल से, व्हाट इज द प्रॉब्लम इज यू गेटिंग इरिटेटेड ना, you have to show more patience than your child. Is it not the case? You are the adult in the relationship. I hope it helps you, Bijal. Thank you.
Right. I hope that helps you, Bijal. Our next question comes in from Madhu. Madhu is a parent to a 10-year-old, and Madhu says, my 10-year-old takes a lot of time to do a said work. Very long meal times, very slow in completing school assignments and homework. Mostly, my child waits till the last minute of submission. For example, maths is his favorite subject, but he's stuck in solving sums for a long time, multiplying and division also. He likes playing sports like relays and running, but cannot play team games like cricket, football, or badminton. Is there something wrong, or should I just accept that this is the way my child is?
Okay, so what I see here, Jharna, is I see that food, the child is taking a long time.
Yes.
I see that to do the homework, the child is taking a long time, especially mathematics is what I gather from here. That's about it, right? The other two things. Now, in the food, okay, unless it's a night time where you really want to wrap it up everything. Firstly, it is always a good idea if at least some people are eating together. The chances are high that there is a positivity here. Now, some children actually end up watching TV when they are doing solo eating, sometimes even in the family eating, or playing mobile or watching some YouTube mobile or something. I'm not sure how it is working with your child, because my first question would be, when you tell me he's taking a long time, would be, what is he doing at that time? Right? Is he only eating food, or is he doing something else also at that time? So probably we may want to start from there, that what is he doing at that time? If you tell me he's only sitting on the table and taking a long time, fair enough, what's the problem? Unless it's a night time, right? If it's a night time and you really want to wrap it up all things, you say, all right, you know what, till 10:30, whatever we can eat, we eat, or 9:30, 8:30, whatever is your time. I say 10:30, keeping Mumbai's late hours in mind, but yeah, 8:30, 8 o'clock. So whatever is the cutoff, you say, you know what, I need to wrap it up after that. So either you take responsibility that you put the plate inside and you clear your area. See, you have to tell natural consequences, right? Always remember, what is the problem? Okay, answer that question. What is the problem if my child is going to keep sitting while I am done with wrapping everything? So my problem is, suppose that is your problem, okay, is who is going to clear the table then? So you tell your child that, oh, you present the problem to your child. My problem is that if I wrap it up, then I don't want to wrap it up again. So do you take the responsibility? You're going to wrap it up, put it inside, nicely clean it and put it, then it is okay. Or else you just put it in the refrigerator, eat it tomorrow morning. Take your pick, right? Give some thing. If the child is okay to clean it up, is taking his own time, and if the child is not on mobile or TV, because then it's a different problem to be solved, right? So if the child is okay, then let the child have one pea at a time, one rice grain at a time. What's the problem? Right? Just think about it. If you leave it like that without getting frustrated and all, maybe within 5 6 days or something, child will say, oh, it's not really working for me, right? It's so boring to keep sitting and keep eating. Just think about it. So we need to get more detail on it, that what exactly is happening when the child is eating. I would always suggest let the child finish the eating, have a routine of eating separately, watching separately. Don't club the two together. Learning to eat is also a good thing, is a good skill where the child is savoring, right? Is eating what is cooked today. If the child is eating at least with one or two members of the family, if that can be a little gossip time also. How was my day, how is your day going, what are the challenges I'm facing, what story I read today. If it is that kind of day, you share your day, your office things, right? So that's a good time as well, social time as well. So you do that. Now coming to the work, homework and all, there are a few things here. Especially in pandemic, Jana, what has happened is that the exposure to devices has, of course, increased a lot. However, there are two sections here. One section is exposure to device because of academic nature. The other is because of the entertainment value of it. Okay. So I would suggest that the later has to be streamlined a bit, where the devices are being used as filler in between, because they are designed. That's the information we got to keep telling the child, the responsible use of technology. Unfortunately, prehistorically, the fears of darkness, the fears of red color, thunder, lightning are all ingrained in us. We know what to do when we face it, because prehistorically, right, our genes are not today's. They're coming right from caveman. However, the fear of internet, the fear of giving our own social information outside, the fear of a child feeling false sense of security sitting alone in the room, but playing video games where there are social connects, where other people, the child is 6 years old and 15-year-old are also commenting out there using their own dude language, right? It's a challenge.
Right.
Okay. So you got to streamline there, have your expectation clear. This is the homework time. Have your consequences clear, that, all right, you know what, we finish this, then you start a new activity. So your entertainment will start after you finish it. Fine, you want to take your whole day, your choice. So that day the child doesn't get the entertainment, right? Even the child says, no, I don't want to do it, right? You have to give 10-year-old, right? You have to give a path to the child. You can't just say, okay, do or die. Today you did not do it, so now I'm going to do Tandav here. It's not required, right? Give some more days to the child to kind of get the hang of it, right? So even if the child says, I'm not going to do it at all, you are still calm. You say, okay, I leave it up to you. I'm sure you will take your best decision. But that also means child did not even do the entertainment screen based. That also means child probably did some creativity. That also means child probably read some book. Or child probably did, don't stop the outdoors of the child, okay? Child probably went out and played. All these things are good things. Yeah. And don't worry, child is going to come back. Child is going to come back. Give 1, 2, 3 days. At least let the child hold on to that no. And you hold on to your calmness. Right? And you hold on to your confidence. When the child next day comes, oh, you know what? I missed my screen time yesterday. Yeah, I know. That's tough. Yeah. So how do you plan it today? Right? You again are supportive. You are still confident. Yes, today will be the day when your no will be yes. Parents' confidence on the child's ability are very important. They are like anchors. Don't ever say a generalized statement, Tum kisi kaam ke nahi ho, you can never do it. You say you can never do it, child is going to take your narration. Mama, I really don't think I can do it. I'm so stupid. Don't give those words to your child. Right? Yeah. I hope it helps you.
Yeah. Madhu also has another question. In fact, she also has a 4-year-old, and she says, "My 4-year-old gets very angry when said that when we tell him that he's done something wrong. He screams, he shouts, he cries. How to tell him that what he's doing is not to be done? He's very active and does not sit in one place for more than a minute at a time." So, anything related to Madhu's communication with her 4-year-old that you feel that she could improve upon?
All right. Yeah, one thing I think which I missed on Madhu when she talked about her other child was about team games and I think losing. I think there was a mention of losing out there. This applies to 4-year-old as well, right? So when the child is doing something and primarily, Jhanna, if I understand it properly, it's about losing a game, isn't it?
Yeah, basically when he's told that he's not done
Hello?
something correctly.
He's not accepting?
She says that he gets angry when he's told that he has done something wrong, or that's not the way to do something, or there's an issue with the way he has done something.
Right, right. Right. So I'll club the two together. That is firstly about in a game losing out, and the other thing is okay, this was the wrong thing that you did.
Yeah.
Now think about it. A 4-year-old. If you were to think what wrongs a 4-year-old can do, the child is very angry, right? Picks up a phone or something and is just about to throw or actually has already thrown, right? That can be one. Child is probably goes to the playground, is playing with another friend and for some reason gets into a fist fight or something. Or a child is not finishing all the A's which the school has given to copy, to write down 10 times or 15 times, right? I'm just thinking that we're all, or the child is coloring and the color is going out of the boundary. Jharna, can you think of any other situations here?
Yeah, there could be several, I think. Yeah.
Right. Now the thing is, right, Madhu, we have to think, right? It's about giving information, okay? And it's also about living up to certain imperfections. A 4-year-old, the way the 4-year-old will draw, if I just go to that, A or color within the boundary, at 5-year-old, the child is going to do differently. At 6 years old, same thing, he's going to do differently. At 10 years old, same thing differently. So there is a path. So if as a parent, see, first I want to question the definition of wrong before we get into that. Okay, he reacts when you say wrong. All right. So if you say that, you know what, here, this is a sun and you colored it black, that's wrong. Right. Then my question here, Madhu, is if we look at all the paintings, which real modern arts are there, and when they say this is a horse and you can't figure it out a horse in that painting, what do you say? They sell in millions.
Yeah.
Right. So the question is, is a 4-year-old child?
Sorry, I was saying modifying expectations.
Yes,
so you're saying that modifying expectations and keeping reasonable expectations is what Madhu needs to do. Yeah.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, yeah. So what I'm saying is that why a 4-year-old child need to fit into the prism of perfection of an adult? Why a 4-year-old child when the child is wearing the chappals or shoes and the child wears left because the child wants to be independent, right? And the child has older sibling also. So he or she sees the older sibling, he says, yes, aspirational. This is how I need to be. So the older child puts on their own and the younger child also says, okay, I also want to put on my own. And the child wears the t-shirt inside out or wears shoes which are left and right and left and starts walking and you just say, you know what, suppose it depends. If you're going for a party and all, it matters a lot. The stakes are very high. Fair enough. You guide the child to change it. But if you're just going for a walk down, right? Why can't we just tell the child, oh, you know what? Look how your ribbon is hanging out. It's inside out. You want to change it? It's not wrong, but do you want to change it? Or, you know what? You're wearing left shoes into right, right into left. You give information and you say, you may fall down if you're walking fast. Do you want to change it? If the child says no, fair enough. Let the child learn. The child, when walks, probably will notice that, oh, it's not comfortable after a few steps, or maybe spend the whole evening in ulta shoes. What's wrong? If the child can handle it, fair enough.
So be it. Yeah.
Yeah. So why do we want to attach our sense of rightness and shame? Oh, you're going down with ulta shirt at this age itself. Don't worry. When he's going to be 10 years old, he's not going to do that. So somewhere, a 4-year-old child needs to think like a 4-year-old, not fit into the adult world of perfection. So give options to the child. If you ask me, there's nothing. Yeah, tell me.
Yeah, so like I was saying, age-appropriate expectations, as you had said earlier. Kiran, we have a few questions coming in, which I'm quickly going to, combine and ask you. There are 2 questions from parents of 3-year-olds, in fact. Our first question is from Veena, who is the parent to a 3-year-old boy, and she says that she lives in a joint family where her husband's niece also lives with them, and her son is 3 years old, and the problem that she's facing is that her niece is quite stubborn and dependent and throws bad tantrums every now and then. Seeing this, her son is now repeating such behavior, so she wants to know how to explain to him, the difference between good and bad behavior. And our next question from the parent of 2 3.5-year-olds, in fact, is Alpona Basu Desai, who has twin boys who are 3.5 years old, and she wants to know how to handle the aggression that she's witnessing due to sibling rivalry.
Okay. In the first case, Jharna, what is the age of the niece?
The niece's age is not mentioned, only the son's age is mentioned, which is a 3-year-old. And also in the case of the twin boys, they are 3.5. So, I think there's a common thread here that they're both facing challenges related to aggression and throwing tantrums. So how, as a parent, can they communicate to their children in this case?
Right. Okay. For a 3-year-old, now we got to understand, when the brain is developing, okay, then we are born with animal instinct. Okay. What is animal instinct? How does a dog or a monkey behave when they face a challenge or when they face situation? Oh my God, it's a danger. They're going to use all the tools that they have, right, which are limbic in nature.
Right.
Okay. And as a human, what do we have? Either some kind of fist movements, or if a child figures it out, that nail scratching. Sometimes the child will try some biting. Okay, so everything which is limbic in nature, or maybe throwing something, everything which is outward in nature, right, not inward or verbalize. Because we got to understand, a 3-year-old child is still building verbal skills, is still building emotional vocabulary, is still building the recognition that I am getting flooded. I got to do something about it. No, the child is, of course, whenever the child is feeling flooded, is bound to do these limbic actions. Slowly, with time, the child is going to build more nerve connections between the logical sense and the limbic moment, and slowly, and verbal will increase their verbal vocabulary as well, where the child can identify how am I feeling right now. Now, as a parent, what is our role here? Is to support the child's meltdown. Okay, to first show to the child that it's okay to have a meltdown, to help the child to have better meltdown where not too much is lost and the child can recover back. Okay, so how it works is, for example, if now here we are not touching upon the sibling rivalry thing, right? But we are talking about the aggression here. So suppose the child is in mall or something, okay, and of course, marketing guys, being marketing guys, they're going to put the things exactly where you don't want the things to be.
Yeah.
So your child is going to kind of reach out to that and say, I want it. I'm going to lie down on the floor or whatever the child wants to do. You try to lift the child, and child is going to be all, you're going to get all eyes around you. Oh my God, what a bad parent you are.
Right.
Right. So ideal behavior, if you see you're not getting flooded, is you sit down with your child, a little corner where you can let the audience also go away, as close as you can. Nicely, you sit down with your child. Don't bring your child to you. You go to the child. You accept that, yes, you're right. Unless it's a problem for other people, then you softly pull your child, take it to closest where you are comfortable, your child is comfortable, and your child can have the meltdown. And you keep your responsibility at that time is only to keep your child safe at that time and to keep you safe. So even if you have to hold your child, you hold your child from behind. So their limbs are outside. The child is getting overwhelmed. If the child could have helped it and could have handled it in any other way, any other human way, right, which involves thinking, the child would have done it. He still is building capabilities for that. So, but the problem, Jharna, which happens generally is if we also get triggered because of circumstances beyond what the child can handle, that is what people are looking around me. Okay, how are they feeling? So if you feel flooded, just pick up your child from behind, go to the car or the closest bench where you're comfortable, hold your child nicely, give that skin to skin connect, and wait for your child to calm down. Don't give logics. Don't try to be in a hurry, ice cream, or look for something. Hold your child and let the child calm down. When the child comes down, it's a tantrum curve. The child comes down, sees you, a trusted adult, hugs you at the time, feels safe that, oh my God, it was a rocky moment I went through. The child is going to build better ability to handle it the next time. So please help your child.
Right. And in the case of the sibling rivalry?
Now that's 3-year-old. Now sibling rivalry is a little sophisticated word. But however, as a parent, sometimes if it all depends, because if it's an older child, a sibling rivalry concept comes. But here, when it's a younger child, then it's less of a sibling rivalry, more of, for example, if you have your child, right, who is 3, and you go out, and in front of your child, you're taking another child in your lap. So it's more about the ownership. It's more about sharing, right? It's more about sharing the resources. It's more about the pain which involves the sharing. It's less of a sibling rivalry. It's more about the pain of sharing. You tell a 3-year-old child to share the toy and see what happens, right?
Yeah.
So then we come up with all sorts of, sharing is fun, sharing is caring. We give all those adult narrations to the children, just so that we want our children to be sharing. But before sharing, we have to understand, Jharna, ownership comes. Right. So in case if you're picking one of your child, for those who have young twins, if another child is kind of tugging you down, best thing is you continue holding the child whom you are picked up for whatever reason you picked up, and you sit down. Right. You sit down and you let your other child also climb up. Good thing is there are 3. I'm assuming that there are they can kind of fit in somehow. So, but don't adjust yourself too much. Let the child fit in the way it is. If you're not comfortable, you tell the child, oh, you know what? Your elbow is hurting me here. So you want to put it here. Let the child feel the calmness that, yes, I got my mom. It's about ownership at this age, less about sibling rivalry. You take any other child, anybody's child, the child is going to react the same way. Right. So make the child see how you can make both the children kind of safe and connected.
Yeah,
but don't be scared of your child in terms of that I should not pick up my child itself because other child will cry. You got to keep confidence in your children's ability that they will understand. Right? Don't give up.
Yeah. So I have twin boys myself who are now 7, and I've gone through that phase as well. And I know that, they've been together throughout. So them being competitive and, at times it's but natural. It's an accepted phase, and they will get past that as well. Right. Thank you, Kiran, for all your expert advice today. We will be back with a Parentune Plus live on Monday with psychologist Richa Agarwal on how to talk to your child about sex and the opposite sex. You can register for that Parentune Plus live on the Parentune app or the Parentune website for just $199. Take good care and have a great weekend.
Thank you, Jharna. Thank you, parents, for an amazing webinar. Thank you. Bye.